Play the Loom podcast. My name is Cher, and this is a channel where I share a little bit about my journey through the fiber arts, mainly knitting, increasingly a little more spinning, some dyeing, and a little bit of weaving, and whatever other crafty rabbit hole I might fall down at the time, but mainly focused in those areas. Thank you so much if you're a returning viewer for coming back, and if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a little while since I've had a regular podcast. It's actually been a while since I've regularly podcasted at all. But I do have several things that I'm thinking about for content, and I've actually got a number of videos recorded that I just need to sit down and edit. Today will be a pretty standard format. I have 2 finished objects, 3 works in progress. Okay, there's more works in progress than 3, but 3 that I'm going to share with you today. And then I might talk a little bit about a couple things that I'm thinking about getting on the needles late summer into fall. So we will start there. We'll start with finished objects. So my first finished object is the Camden Camisole. And I'll put some photos in too of me wearing it. I did this as a test knit for the Knit Purl girl. And it's got some really lovely fit details with this wide ribbing, nice finish with I-cord edging around the arms, the neckline, and the hem. And I will give you a little bit of detail about the pattern. It was very recently released. So I knit mine with Earth Harvest DK in the colorway Black Grape. And I used just under 2.5 skeins, 2.46. So approximately 740 yards or 677 meters. I knit the size H in the pattern. It's a very size inclusive pattern. And the only thing I did was I did decrease a little bit following my bust shaping, just to cinch in a little bit across the back mainly, and then I think at the bottom I did a little bit on the top front as well. I am really pleased with the fit of this. I did use the same needle size that I did for the body for the I-cord, which is not the way the pattern is written. Did this as a test knit, and some of the other testers found that the armhole was getting quite small. I don't like a wide armhole. As a matter of fact, the one I have on is annoying me. Try to keep my arms down. I don't like my bra to show. So this actually is a really nice fit. With a proper bra under it. It's got enough width here on the strap, and the armhole is not too deep, but it's not tight at all. As I said, really pleased with that. I have 14 inches from the center neckline to the hemline, if that is helpful for anyone. So again, this pattern is by Sophie of the Knit Purl Girl. And I don't think it has the release. Yes, it was July 2024. So again, a very recent release on that pattern. It was a fun test knit. It's a very well written pattern. Gives a lot of good detail and helpful links if you need additional assistance with it. So I would highly recommend. I can envision making another. It was a nice knit. I have to say, when I got to about, I don't know, maybe the last 2 or 3 inches, I was like, I'm ready to be done. I did, when I got to the, she left on the hanger. When I got to a couple inches under the bust, I did block it and then do the I-cord so that it was mainly finished except for the hem, which I always just find if I get some of the fussy bits out of the way, that kind of helps me roll on to the end of the project. So, really happy with that. My next finished object is the Breezeway tee. Again, I will put a few photos in so you can see me with it on. This is a pattern by Laura Aylor, who is Fog Bound Knits. This is published in May of 2019, and Amanda of the Yarns and Brews podcast actually had recommended this to me when I was looking for a summer tee this spring, and also just for needing some travel knitting or carry around knitting. And I will say it's a phenomenal recommendation. It true to her comments to me, it fits well on a lot of body types. I knit this pretty much to pattern, which if you have watched me for a while, I've kind of been on this knitting journey of trying to figure out how to make things fit. I tend to overcompensate and make things too large. So this one I did with much less positive ease than I normally would. I started to increase more than the sizing called for, and then I decided not to, including on the sleeve. And I will say this is a very interesting pattern. When you, before you pick up for the sleeves, when you finish for the yoke, and it's a compound raglan, so it has a yoke and a compound raglan, so you're doing a little bit of both. And when you get done, the armhole looks huge, and you think, oh my gosh, like this is never gonna work. Trust the pattern, because she does this very, very interesting, I'm not going to give away the pattern because of course it's a paid for pattern, very interesting knitting to close that gap on the underarm and makes it fit beautifully. So don't be alarmed by that. I do want to point out some of the finishes because I just love this finish of this garter stitch neckline and garter stitch on the sleeve. It just gives it such a nice, and it's on the hem as well. There's a slight, you might see, dip in the back. Gives you a nice little subtle curve. And I did knit this fairly short, as you can see from the photographs. And I'm really happy with it. And that's not something that I've done in the past. So I think, there's a lesson there. And I'm trying to do that a little more with kind of surprise, listening to the designer's guidance. And I always think, well, that's not my body type, but I'm quite conscious about my arms and my stomach. So I tend to want things to look baggier, but actually it's a quite nice fit. I think it looks really nice with my jeans. I will definitely be making another one, and I would definitely recommend this pattern to anyone in making it. I knit this with Malabrigo Yarn Ultimate Sock in the colorway 150 Azul Profundo. Apologies. And I knit the large, which is to fit a 42 to 48 inch bust. So that would have been just about no ease at my upper bust and slightly negative ease at my full bust. And again, I think the fit is really, really nice. So I would recommend that. I apologize. I will fill in the yarn amounts in Ravelry. Apparently I have not done that yet, but it was, I think I used just over 2 skeins, maybe 2 1/3 of that 100-gram skein of that Malabrigo sock. So I will update that, and so you can see that in the notes. I will say the earth yarn and the Camden Camisole, I have used earth yarns before. I had never used their natural dyed, and I loved it. I do find their yarns a little bit splitty because when you look at it, it definitely looks like threads loosely twisted together. But it didn't bother me much at all in this pattern. the Malabrigo sock, which I would not have expected to be that way, and it's the first time I've used it in any Malabrigo yarn, had a lot of kind of little fuzzes on it, and I don't know. I did not love knitting with it. I tell you what, I really did not love caking it up. It was the worst 3 skeins of tangled yarn mess I have ever done. But as far as the finished product, I am really, really happy with it. I have worn both of these at least once a week since I finished them, and really neither of them are showing any pilling or wear. So I will say from a wear, so I realized the other day I've got apparently 2 ends I didn't weave in. I thought I was so careful. So yeah, definitely, I can recommend the yarn. I have heard other people say they don't have any problem at all scanning it up. So, because I was at knit group and I was like, oh, this is so frustrating. And, apparently that it's a me thing. It just got, those happen to be the skeins I got that time, I guess. So just kind of funny story there. So those are the 2 finished objects for today. So on to works in progress. The first work in progress, and I've kind of had this as an on and off project, is the Traveler hoodie or it's really just called the Traveler, but I'm making the hoodie version, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I am knitting this in Ramagarn Finial in color 4130, which is the green. And I've got the accents will be color 4132. So I am at I've split for the sleeves, and I'm at that kind of awkward stage where the front is longer than the back. So I'm knitting up the sleeve portion here. It's a really fun repeat because you're going back between knits and purls. Okay, if you don't like to purl, this is not the pattern for you, but like I don't mind. I did have to cast it on twice, so I cast on for this contrast blip here at the what do we call that? The waistband, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And I originally did it wrong in 1x1 rib, and this was super tight. So I had gotten, I don't know, maybe about 3 inches in and slipped it on and went, oh, I mean, like I could have gotten away with it, but I'm like, this is supposed to be oversized, and I knew it was going to be short, and I thought that's not going to be a good look. So I took it out, and I'm really happy that I did. I did use a provisional cast on with Stitch Saver to do the essentially a Italian, what's the cast on that she uses? With the tubular cast on. So I used Laura Nelkin's tutorial off YouTube to do that, and I found it extremely helpful. As all Andrea Mowry patterns, the pattern's very well written, very clear instructions. I'm debating whether, and it may come down to, we're getting ready to go on a trip for a couple weeks, and I'm debating whether to take it as my travel knitting. I had really hoped I would be done because we'll be somewhere where the climate will be variable enough I could have worn it, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'd prioritized the tees for the summer, but yeah, so definitely you'll see more of this to come. I'm going to do the little bit of trim on the cuff the same way that I did for the hem. That was the word I was looking for. And also the I-cord for the neck will be out of that rust color as well. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm finding it to be a really engaging knit. The second work in progress is now unfortunately going to become a frogged item, and it is the Queen's Cami, which is a pattern by Tori. And I do want to make this pattern. I will tell you, so I was in the airport, as I so frequently am, on a business trip, and a woman dashed by me who had on a pair of leggings and this really cute tank with a curved hem on it in the back, and I'm like, oh, that would be such a great travel type shirt. I'm like, wonder if I can find a pattern. And I sat down and pulled up Instagram just to flip while I was waiting at the gate, and Tori was having, I think, a birthday sale, or it could have been a release launch sale, but anyway, and when I went and looked at her patterns, this Queen's Cami pops up, and it's just exactly what I was looking for. So I looked online. I thought, oh, I really would like to try knitting with the Knitting for Olive pure silk. So I found actually a Oak City Fibers outside of Raleigh, in the Raleigh Triangle area here in North Carolina, and went online and ordered this. This is color, it's called Raspberry Pink, and it's not like the shiny silk that you think of. I mean, I definitely have seen people work with it, but I will say it does not bother my hands to knit with, and that was a little bit what I was afraid of with silk, because I don't like to particularly knit with cotton and plant fibers, but I found it actually fine to knit with. And I'm not finding I just don't have a pattern page on this one yet, so I'm going to go in here and look at the pattern itself. So I cast on, so it has a folded over hem. I did use the same provisional cast on with a stitch saver to start that, which worked really, really well. It's bottom up. I had never knit with the pure silk, so I did a gauge swatch. The pattern cleverly uses multiple needle sizes to get some of the shaping. So I blocked the swatch. Y'all, the swatch lied. So of course, I don't knit on a long needle, I knit on a short needle, and I'm working away. I have this, I wish I left it on the needle, I have this beautiful folded hem with the short row shaping. You're starting to see the problem already, I'm sure, right? I mean, y'all, to be fair, I did go up one needle size on the bottom couple inches, but even for me, this is not what my swatch said it should be. It's not the pattern's fault. And honestly, every time I swatch, I have this problem. I think this is why I don't swatch. It's just like, it's way too big. There is literally no recovery from it. It's coming out, and I think I will knit it again. I think I will try knitting it actually in the recommended yarn, which I believe is Purl Soho Linen Quill is the recommended yarn. This would have been a pretty airy, loose gauge, but I just think maybe I didn't pair up the yarn well for the pattern. I don't think it's the pattern, but it was one that I wanted for this trip, so I probably will not knit it again till next spring, but I will knit it. It's still a pattern that I really want to do. I hear really great things about Tori's patterns. What I have done of it so far was very well written. And you know, definitely I would continue to look. I've got a couple of her patterns in my queue to knit, but sadly it's not going to be the Queen's Cami this go around. And then the last pattern, and this is in my Harris tweed tote from the Woolly Thistle. This was my travel knitting when we were in Ireland in March. I actually, if you've watched a while, you know I started these eons ago. They've just been kind of on the shelf. And it's just a pair of socks. And the yarn is from Woodsong Farm. And it is their they're in Bassett, Virginia. Why is it not having it on here? Oh, it's 85% Finn sheep and 15% mohair, 250 yards to the gram. I started these socks, and they're on a US 1, is that 2.25, I think. And I love the fabric that I'm getting. I'm just doing a 3x1 rib. I did a contrast heel, shadow wrap heel is my go-to. I do toe up. So here's the other sock. And I am loving the fabric that it's making, but they hurt my hands to knit because it's really quite dense, which I think is going to be appropriate because I believe I can really wear these in shoes, and boots is really what I'd like to. I wear boots at work sometimes. So this was actually a really good travel knit. I was probably halfway up both toes. So while we were, you know, doing different bus rides and planes, I was able to get quite a bit done. I got the heels put in, which I love. I don't know why I didn't do a contrast toe. But I think I'm going to do striping at the top. The cuff will be a relatively short cuff, just to accommodate my leg. I don't tend to do tall cuffs, so, but that is what I've got going on there. So those are my 3 main whips. I do have several other things in progress, but those are the ones I've been really working on. So, I thought maybe a little Knitspiration could be in order as we're thinking about moving in the northern hemisphere from the summer into fall, which I'm not quite ready to do, and eastern North Carolina will be easily still a couple months away. I mean, we're still, you know, in the upper 90s most days, but I'm starting to think about it. And I've had a couple of things in my queue, like we all have. I think if I can knit till my queue is gone, I'll live forever. It's just so sad. Every week, more patterns. I love it. But a couple of things that I've got. Another recommendation from Amanda of Yarns and Brews was the Arte Nuova. I'm butchering that. I apologize. By Rachel Illsley. So this has a really nice color work feature in the along the kind of below the waist, and just a nice kind of t-shirt. So I thought I'm really enjoying having knitted tees with like a half or 3/4 sleeve, and probably for me in the winter, as I'm quite cold natured, you know, I tend to wear jeans and boots, or and very often accompany quarter zip. So having something like that as a layer piece is really, really nice under it, and can kind of dress that up a little bit. So I can foresee knitting quite more of that style. So that's one that I've got, and I've got yarn already picked out. It is yarn from Heelside Farms here in outside Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'll be able to share that with you when I get that cast on. That one's probably next because it's sort of more of a transitional piece. The other one I've just fell in love with when it was released is the Lourdes pattern by Jennifer Beale. I have long wanted to knit a Jennifer Beale pattern, and this one just really appeals from a style perspective. I actually picked pretty similar colors. This yarn I got, I believe I also have Malabrigo for part of it or maybe all of it. I have it down in a project bag ready to go. Debating whether I can take that as a travel knit. I think I'm going to cast on and see how difficult the lace pattern is, to see if that's something that I might be able to take with, you know, a little bit of, I thought if I had something, either maybe I'll finish the socks or muscle burrow or something like that, that's kind of mindless when we're doing social activities, but you know I'm going to have some downtime to sit in a cafe and, you know, people watch and have some coffee and, or excuse me, have some knitting time. So that might be due. And then the next one, I'm kind of thinking in the seasonal-ish order, right, getting more towards winter for us here, is the Pink Fizz by Andrea Mowry. And this is one that I did not have on my radar. And even looking at it in Ravelry, it's just not one that would have, I don't know, caught my attention. But when we were in Ireland, I visited This Is Knit in Dublin, which was a lovely yarn shop. And I think I might have a couple photos. I'll pop that in here. They had this knit up in an Irish yarn, which I just thought it had a beautiful hand, a beautiful drape. It just really set the sweater off. So it does kind of show you, sometimes seeing it in person, you know, is a different experience. And so I have that one, and that one I've got ready to go in the project bag as well. So those are kind of some of the transitional pieces kind of going into winter. And then I have a whole list of winter projects as well as we all probably do. So I would love to know what you are knitting on now, if you've tried any of the patterns that I talked about or that I had in this section. If anybody would be interested in knitting some together with a little mini knit along in the fall, I think that would be very cool. So there we go. And last, I just thought I would chat a minute on some other things I've been doing. I've really been doing a lot of spinning, and if you follow me on Instagram, which I did not mention, you can find me on Instagram here and Ravelry here. Probably I'll put that on the beginning of the video too. But I recently purchased 2 soft Shetland fleeces from Jennifer Johnson of Whispering Pine Farm. She has a YouTube channel that's very good. She just shows the life of a shepherdess. Her and her husband have a flock of, I think this year about 70 Shetlands, mostly ewes. And she does just a beautiful work on the fleece. So I purchased a white fleece and a gray fleece. And I'm just sort of experimenting with how to process. Like, here's a little bit of the white. If that's going to show up well. How I want to process it. So this is some that I'm trying to see if I want to card. I've tried a little bit of combing, which is just makes this lovely cloudy fluffiness. I've spun a little bit from the lock. So I've been kind of putting some reels on Instagram of that. I have so I have the white and the gray I purchased this year. I have a fawn that I purchased, I think in 2021, and then I think 2 black and a moret that I purchased in 2020 and 2019 maybe, I don't remember. But I'm really just now kind of eagerly diving into that and figuring out how I want to do. And I think I'm gonna, I've got the fawn and the white and the gray scoured up, and I have a video that I took of some of that process, so I will have that content, or it may precede this video, but just to kind of show you how I did that. And there's some reels on my Instagram of a little bit of my unboxing that and process. So, but I'm thinking what I'm going to do is get the other colors washed up as well, because what I'm finding I'm liking kind of being able to spin on one, work on one to, it's, you know, it's quite a lot of work to process. And this is not my full-time job, as with many of us, so it's a little bit slow, but like I'm finding I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying trying the combing versus the hand cards versus the spinning from the lock, and just trying to figure it out. They're each a little bit different. They're lovely, lovely fleeces. I've got a very small sample. I probably should have brought it up. It's drying now, so I did some of the fawn, and the fawn you'll see in the video that's on the scouring. I used Outback Gold, and it still had quite a bit of lanolin in, which does not bother me, but I wondered if I was going to have trouble spinning it. So thus I had done this sample spin, and it actually is coming out really, really lovely. I did and then I put a little bit of gray and a little bit of the white just on the tail end of that. I just kind of wanted to see how it would work up. The white is beautiful as a 2-ply. I want to also try it as a 3-ply because it's probably fingering weight. I might like it to have it a little bit more in the worsted, but really beautiful and springy, and I'm really pleased with the spinning on that. I got my Kromsky back out, so I've actually been doing that on my Kromsky Symphony wheel, and I'm just really enjoying it. I got that. I tried chain plying on a plying ball for that sample, and that's kind of what's held me up. And I've actually, since figuring that out, there's 2 things I was avoiding. I didn't know how to take that small amount and break it up into 3 bobbins. I mean, I knew how, but like I'm never good at getting them split. And so if you're new to spinning, what you do is you spin, the first spin is what we call a singles, and then you're putting them together typically in 2 or 3 or more, and spinning it again in the reverse direction to actually make the yarn. And so, you know, if you're planning a big spin, you would say, okay, I've got, you know, 2 ounces on this bobbin and 2 ounces on this bobbin and 2 ounces on this bobbin, and you get pretty close. But because I had such a small amount, trying to split that up, particularly after the fact, just was not the fun part of spinning for me. So, and then I watched the Tipsy Spinster. She had posted a video with this plying ball for chain plying. So chain plying, as it sounds, is sort of like making the loop in crochet. So you've got this loop and you're pulling the other loop through it, and that makes a 3-ply-ish. I mean, it's not technically a 3-ply, but it comes out close to a 3-ply. You've got the little bump there, right, where it's not. But doing that part first on this plying ball, so you're not having to do that while you're trying to actually do the plying. It made it so much easier. So I did that for the Shetland, and even the first part of it, I didn't have very much of the white. I was able to pull that off as a 2-ply and then do the thing. So here's a little clip that I posted on YouTube that has just sort of that process. I'm doing a plying ball to do some 3-ply chain plied yarn for a test, and I'm finding that what I can do is I've got the loop hooked on the outside of my Lazy Kate, and I've got the other strand coming through, and I'm able to get a pretty long length of yarn. And then when I get where I want to stop, just winding it on the plying ball, get down, grab the next loop, and do it again. And it's letting me have some pretty long transitions. So I will let you know how that plies. So that just made it really easy. So then I kind of got excited about it. And I have this Radnor breed study I had started, and I had spun up 2 of the braid. Were they braids? No, it wasn't a braid. 2 sets of comb top, and it was a orange set and a blue set. I had one that was part of it of each where I mixed it, and then part where they're each separate. And I had them just sitting on bobbins. Same problem. I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it, so I actually have put the blue one on a plying ball today, and I'll spin that up, and then the multicolored one, the orange one I had already done. I actually tried to split that up, and I did a terrible job, so I still ended up having to chain ply the end. And then the other thing that I've been not doing, because I keep hearing it's not good, and there's some videos that show the rationale behind using a plying ball, so where you're actually taking your spun single and caking it up like you would a yarn cake, right? And then pulling from the center and the outside. And you know what I have read and what I've seen, and you can do the little ribbon test, right? The yarn you pull from the center and the yarn you pull from the outside end up with different. You're increasing twist on one and decreasing twist on one. And so I thought that's not going to make a very nice yarn, and I've just been avoiding it. And sometimes for a small amount of 2-ply, again, that's just the most logical. But I had watched Julian Eve, as a matter of fact. She actually has a video on this as well, as does Roxanne Richardson. Although Julian said as she's prefacing her video, she does that all the time. It does change the twist. But at the end of the day, I think the conclusion I took from her video was probably not enough to prohibit you from using it, particularly for a small amount like a sample. So I did that with this multicolor yarn, and I'm so far happy with it. It's getting ready to go into the bath. So anyway, I say all that to say, a lot of spinning things going on. I'm very inspired by the knit group that I go to over in Four Corners each month. A lot of spinners. The farm is a fiber farm. Again, Heelside Farms, and I'll put the link below. Has lovely fiber. I just purchased some beautiful fiber, so you'll see more of that. So anyway, I think we'll have more spinning content going into the fall and to the winter. But that's all I have today. So I appreciate so much you stopping by. I would love to hear what you're working on. And would love any comments that you have on gauge or spinning or plying, or just knowing what you're up to in your crafty world. So I will talk with you soon. Happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Bye, y'all.